So in this lesson, we're going to learn about Google Sites. So think of Google Sites as being a web page builder, a place where you can build a web page that you might use in your classroom, that you might use to get information out to parents. And it's a great way to combine a bunch of different sources of information into one place. So there's a couple of ways that you can get to Google Sites. The first way would just be to type in your browser sites.google.com, and we're going to do /new. And the reason we're going to do that is Google Sites actually updated in the last couple of years. And if you just type in sites.google.com, you're going to go to the old platform, and then you're going to need to click on another button to get to the new platform. So this is what the new platform looks. It looks a lot like how you would store files in Google Drive. And you can see when you go here, these are all like the recent sites that I've gone to. These are ones that are owned by anyone. So maybe they've shared them with me and I've been working on them with them, or they're just ones that I view quite often. Or you can also sort it here by just ones that you have made and that are owned by you. So you can kind of sort them there, just like you can sort things in Google Drive. So that's one way to get to a Google site, but we want to make a new Google site. So the easiest way that I think to do that is we're usually in our Google Drive anyways. So go to New and More, and then Google Sites is an option. So go ahead and click on Google Sites. And it's going to open up the template to make a Google site. So you can kind of see this web page looking format. We're going to learn how to do a lot of things on here. But the first thing that we want to do is we want to name our site, and go ahead and get that done. So up here where it says Untitled Site, I'm going to click there, and I'm just going to call it Miss Morgan's Classroom Site. Okay. When I do that and I click down here, the name I popped up here is going to show up right here, okay? But it didn't change anything here for my page title, and my page title doesn't have to be the same as what I named the file. So think of this here as the file name, and then here you're going to put the title of your web page, and it can be different from the name that you gave to your actual site. So, oops, let me highlight all of it first. I'm going to title this Miss Morgan's Class. Okay, and so I've got my title there. Okay, so those are kind of the basics to just getting a Google site open and getting it named and giving it a title. And next we'll look at how to add more pages and things like that to it. So now let's take a look at how we add pages to our Google site. So if you look over in the right-hand side, you will see that we've got some different options: insert, pages, and themes. And we're going to go through all of those, but we're going to start with pages. So this is going to be where you add different sections or different pages to your website. So we've got the home page first, and that's what we're looking at here. Now, it's titled Home as it is now, but if you don't want it to be titled Home, if you want to change it to something else, you can click on the three little dots, go to Properties, and then you can rename it whatever you would like. There are some advanced settings where you could put in like a custom path, an actual link to get to it, things like that. But if you want to rename your homepage, that's the way you do it. Now, the thing with sites is once you're on pages, when you're ready to add a new page, you've got a plus button down here at the bottom. So when I hover over that, I get an option to either add a new page or a new link. So I'm going to add a new page. It's going to ask me what I want to name it. Now, since this is my Miss Morgan's Classroom, I'm going to do an About Me page. And I'm going to hit done. And then I also want a page of class information for the classes that I'm teaching. So I'm going to add another new page, and I'm going to call it Class Info. And I'll just stick with info so it'll be shorter. Okay, now, if you're like most of us, you teach more than one class. So your class information might not be the same for every class that you have. So I'm going to show you how you can do subpages now. Before I do that, I want to point out that as I started adding pages, I started getting tabs up here across the top so that I could go to those. So right now I'm on my class info page, but if I click up here, it's going to take me back to my home page. If I click on About Me, it's going to take me to the About Me page I made. If I click on Class Info, it's going to go back to the Class Info page that I made. Now, under Class Info, if I click these three little dots, it gives me some options. I can make that my home page if I would like. I can duplicate that page. So that might be something you want to do if you want to make a copy of it and then just make some changes to it, change the title, something like that. Again, you can do properties and change the name. And subpage is what we're going to do now. So I'm going to add a subpage. So this kind of puts a page within a page on your Google site. So I'm going to call this one 8th grade. Hit done. And so now you can see that under class info, I have an 8th grade page. When I'm ready to add another one, I'm going to add page, and I'm going to do 7th grade. And I'm going to hit done. Now, you'll notice I forgot to make that a subpage. I just made it another regular page, and you can see that that's what happened up here. I want this actually to be under class info. So I'm just going to click on it and drag it up to where I want it to be. And it's going to go in class info. Okay. Also, your pages within class info, you can drag those around and rearrange those in any order you want. I prefer them to be in number order. That's just me. Okay, so now I have these pages made. What you'll notice up here, though, is I made these pages, but when I'm just hovering over the bar in general, I don't see my 7th grade and 8th grade page. But I do have this little arrow drop down, and when I hover over it, now I can see my 7th grade and my 8th grade page. And then I can click and go to whichever one of those that I want. The other option I want to show you is if I click on properties, I have a hide navigation page. So if I click on that, watch what happens to my bar up here. So I'm going to click on hide navigation, and that about me page goes away. Now, does it still exist? Yes, but it just won't be visible to people when they log on. You might want to do this if you're going to put a link to that page somewhere else on another page, but for the most part, I would say if you're creating a page on your site, you want them to be visible. So that's about it for actually creating pages. Next, we'll look at how do we actually put objects and sections into each page. So let's talk now about how we insert different objects into our pages on Google Sites. So I'm on the About Me page that I made earlier, and I want to add some different information to it. So I look over here on my right-hand side again, and now I was on the pages. Now I'm going to go to Insert, and we're going to look at all the different things that you can insert. And let's start with a text box. So maybe in this text box, I want to put some information about me. So I'm going to pop my information in, and then I can format that information in some different ways. So I've got the kind of normal text size. I can change it to title, make it really big. I can change it to a heading, which is a little bit smaller, a subheading. I can go down and make it small. So however you want it to look, you can do that. You can also make it bold. You can bold just one particular part of it. So do that. You can italicize parts of it or all of it, however you'd like to do that. You can change the alignment. So however you want to do that, you can add bullets, numbers. You can insert a link. So maybe I want to insert a link from Murray State. So I can do and apply that. And so now when I go and click, it's going to take me out to Murray State's webpage. You can also clear all the formatting that you've done. You can trash this if you want to. And then we have a few more editing options. If you know how to write code, you can do that as well. And so you can kind of format the text boxes however you want. The next option is images. So if I click on images, and I can click select. When I do that, I'm going to get some choices. I can select by URL. I can search Google for an image. I can search photos. and then I can search my Google Drive. Now, when I click on Google Drive, it's going to bring up the things that I have in here that are photos. So I'm going to pick a photo and insert it. And it's automatically going to put that photo kind of right down here underneath my text. But if I hold down on this photo, I can start dragging it around, and you'll notice you get some lines and some blue boxes that pop up, and it kind of indicates to you where it's going to go. And so if I actually want my photo to be right up here beside the text that I put in, I can do that. And it adjusts the size of my picture and my text. I can do a little bit of editing, so I can crop, and so I can adjust it however I want to, and I can reshape this a little bit. I can change the size of my picture, so I can make it bigger if I want to. Uncrop will just undo everything that I've just done. I can also insert a link. So if I want, when you click on my picture, for it to go to the Google Drive, then I could put in drive.google.com and hit apply. And so now it's got that link there. And so when I click on the picture, it's going to take me to Google Drive. I can delete that picture. And then again, I've got a few more editing options. I can replace the image. I can add alternate text, or I can add a caption. If I want to add a caption, it's going to put it down below the picture. And so I can label that and put that caption under there. And then again, just like with my other text box, I have all these options to format that caption. Also, with your text box, you can rearrange the size of it, make it bigger or smaller, so then you can adjust the size of your picture if you want to and move it around a little bit. And so you've got some options there for both your text box and your image. The next thing I want to look at is this embed. And so embed is not something we're going to do a whole lot of. I don't think you'll see any of it on the Google certification exam, but you can embed a web page, someone else's web page, or a different web page that you have. You could embed your Twitter feed, which I'm going to show you how to do, a Facebook, a blog, different things like that. So I'm going to use embed, and I'm going to embed using a code. And so I need to get an HTML code for what I want to embed. So I'm going to go over, and you get a code from Twitter if you want to do your Twitter feed. And then I'm going to paste that code in. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to hit insert. And so now it's embedded my Twitter feed here. And anytime you do that, you do have some options. You've got some edit here. You can also trash that or delete that if you want to. The next option that we have is our Google Drive. So you can insert anything you've made in Google Drive, in Google, into your Google site. So if I click on Google Drive, this is going to pull up my Google Drive. And so you can insert different things. So let me just find a couple of things that we could insert here. So you could insert a Google slide deck. So if I wanted to insert the tech tips that I give out every week, then I can put in a link to this. Okay, and so we've got this here. You'll notice how it looks because it's slides that you can see where it's on slide 1, and it kind of shows you how you can go through and do that. You can also insert other things. So you can insert docs, you can insert all kinds of different things. So let's just see if I can find something else here that we could pop in real quick. So I can pop in this STLP rubric if I need to for students to be able to have, and so they can see that there. So you can insert a whole lot of different things from Google Drive. Okay. You also have these options for kind of changing the layout, and so you can select those and you can change kind of the layout, and every time you do one of those, it's adding a section to it, and then the section is laid out like you see it. Delete these out. So you just saw me delete those out. So you have these other things over here that we'll get to in a minute where you can delete different sections. Let's scroll down just a little bit. And you have a whole lot of other options here. I'm going to come back to a couple of these in just a minute, but I want to scroll down to the bottom and show you that in addition to just going straight to your Google Drive, which was the option up here, if you know you want to insert a specific type of document, then you can go down here and actually just pick those. So if I know I want to insert a Google form, I can click on Forms, and it's going to bring up all the forms that I have. And so maybe I want to insert this professional development interest form. And so it will put that in there, and so I could have people respond to that form directly on my site. Now, this is a good time for me to mention that when you give someone access to the site, when you publish the site and they have the link to go to the site, they're going to pull it up and they should be able to see everything that you've put on there. But remember that you are pulling and putting in documents from your Google Drive, forms, slides, whatever it may be. You have to make sure that you have those forms set that anybody with the link can view them. Okay, if you don't have those settings in that way, then when they go to your website, they're just going to see a bunch of error messages, and that's not fun for them at all. So just make sure that anything you're going to put into your Google site, you've checked the settings on, and that people will have actual access to see them. Okay, so again, you can do charts, forms, sheets, all the Google things can be inserted into your website. Okay, let's go back up a little bit, and I want to show you a couple of more things. So you could do a divider. Divider literally just puts a dividing line in there so that you kind of separate out the sections. You can insert directly from YouTube. Remember that Google owns YouTube. So you can do a video search. So if we were learning about cells, then I could just search cells. And I can look and see the different things that come up. And so if I want to put in this video, click on it and hit select, and it's going to insert that YouTube video. We'll be able to take a look at that. You also can insert a calendar. So I'm going to click on calendar, and when I do that, it's going to pull up every single calendar that I have access to, and I have access to all the ones for our district. But let's say I wanted to insert the middle school library calendar here. So I'm going to click on that calendar, and I'm going to click insert. Now it automatically defaults to the agenda view. Okay, but I don't want the agenda view to show up. I want the actual month view to show up. So I'm going to hit settings, and I'm going to look at the settings, and so I want it to show all these things, but down here on view mode it says agenda. I want to change that to month view. I want to be able to see it a month at a time, and I'm going to hit done. And now you can see that we're looking at March's calendar for the middle school library, and I can see it by month. Now, this calendar is a live calendar. So as we use the Google calendars to kind of organize, as someone adds something to this calendar, it's going to update on my Google site, and I'm going to be able to see the changes that are made because it's live and will get updated. Okay. One of the other things that you can insert into a Google site is a map. So if I click on map, and I'll have you search a location. So we'll just do the board office. So 208 South 13th Street, Murray. And it will pull up the map, put a little point on that address. You can select it, and then it's going to pop in a map there. And so then you can always open it in a new tab. You can delete it. You can move it around just like you can move all the other things around. And so you can actually input a map on your Google site. There are a few other things that you could play around with on here, but those are the main things that you can insert. Now just remember, just like with the picture, I can drag these things around and I can put them in different places and organize them however I would like. Okay, so that's about it for inserting things, and in the next section we'll take a look at how to customize it. So let's look now at how we can customize our site a little bit. Let's show you a few things that you can do. There's not a ton of options for Google Sites, but there are some things that you can do. So first of all, if I hover up here over the file name, you'll see that it says Add Logo. I can click on that and I can actually select an image to go in as my logo. If I go to my Google Drive, it's going to pull everything that is an image that I can use. So if I want to use something like this, I can copy it and insert it. And then you will see that now that image is up here as my logo, and no matter what page I go to, that logo is going to be there. So that logo is going to be on every page that I create. Okay. You also have the settings here, so we can always pull this up, and this is going to pull up the same thing that just pulled up when I inserted the logo. When I hover over this part of my Google site, I see a couple of options here. I can change the image that I see here. So I can do an upload and actually upload something from my computer, or I can select image. They have a gallery of quite a few images that you can choose from. You can also search by URL, go to your Google Drive, search your album. So you have lots of different choices, but you can change the way it looks. So if I want to select this to be my thing, then it will change my image back here. I can reset that if I want to. I also have some options for header type. I can make it a large banner. I can make it a smaller banner. I can do just the title only. I can do where it's the cover and it's quite a bit bigger. So you can kind of choose that format as well. What do you want it to look like? Okay. Then let's take a look at some other things that we can do. So we can go over here to themes. And so there's not a ton of themes to choose from, as you can see, but there are a few. And so if I want to go with this theme, you'll notice that it changed a little bit here. And if I scroll down, I do have some color option choices. I can also within that change a few of the color options. If you don't like the colors that they provide you, you can always click on the little bucket and then you can move it around and change from there in your color wheel, and you can find a color that you like and you can select that. You also have some font style options under each theme that you can choose. And so when you choose those, it will change the font. Not a ton of options here under your theme, but you do have a little bit that you can change there. You can also, if I go over to my About Me page where I have the different sections, you can also edit and do a little bit with the different sections. So this section here where I put in a little bit about myself and my picture, if I look over here, I will notice that I have a section background button. So I can click on that. And right now it's just on regular. I can change it a little bit and you can see that it kind of puts a little bit of emphasis on there. It changes the color slightly. I can do another one. It'll change the color completely. Or I can upload a background image here. And I can do that for each section. So if I kind of want each section to be different and emphasize it a little bit different so it kind of tends to separate those out, then I can do that. So I can kind of make them look different and kind of separate those out like that. So those are kind of just the basic ways that you can edit your website. For every section, you can always add in an image. You can always do things like that. So you've got some different things that you can do to kind of make it look the way you want it to. Now, I do want you to notice that on my homepage, I did have this header, but notice that that didn't carry over to my About Me page or my class info page. The theme did. I have this blue line that I had put in there, but the header didn't. So you can put in a different header for every page if you want to. The other thing I want to show you really quickly before we finish up this section is that if you get all your stuff on here and then you decide, I don't really like the way this is ordered, I would really prefer this document to be above my tech tips. If you kind of hover over it, you get this little set of dots here, and you can actually click on it and drag the sections. And so you can kind of rearrange it and put things where you want them to and kind of make them the sections move. And so you can now have them rearranged the way you want. So there's lots of flexibility in the way you make it look. Again, not a ton of options for making it look pretty, but enough that you can do what you want to do. And maybe if you're having your kids make a site, it's nice not to have so many options. They can focus more on the content that they're doing and not so much time on making it pretty. One last thing I want to show you about sites is how you share and publish your site once you've got it made. So the first thing I want to show you is, just like with any other Google tool, Sheets, Docs, slides, you can have collaborators on those. So up here at the top, we've got our little person with the plus so that we can share with others. If you have somebody else you want to work with on this site, if you have a team of teachers and you're creating a site to send out to your students to keep them updated with daily homework, then you're going to want to have more than one collaborator on the site. So you just need to enter the email addresses of the people that you want to share this with. Click on their name, send it. They'll get a notification that they can be added and they can share and edit your site. And so now you've got more than one collaborator. So they're actually able to make edits to the site, not just see the final product, but actually make changes. So you can totally do that if you would like. The other thing that I want to point out is that you can preview what your site is going to look like before you publish it. So up here is a little, what looks like a computer screen and maybe a cell phone. If you click on preview, then you're going to see what people will see when they go to your live site. So you can kind of get an idea of, does it look the way you want it to? And you can get a preview of it on a large screen like a computer, what it would look like on a tablet, and what it would look like on a cell phone. So you can see all of those things. Now, when your site is ready to go and you're ready to put it out there for people to see, then you're going to click on Publish. And it's going to come up with the web address for your site. Now, it's going to start out sites.google.com/murray.kyschools.us. That's not editable, but the last part is. So it's just taken whatever I had named my Google site is the file name for the rest of the web address. But you can change that. If you want to just make it shorter and call it Miss Morgan's Class or whatever you want to do, you can do that. It's going to change that here. And so now, when I hit publish, it's going to put that site out there, and anybody that has the web address will be able to see it. So if I go to a new window and put in that address, it's going to pop up the website that I created, and we can go to it and we can see all of the things that were put in, and it looks like our real website. Okay, so now it's published. But what if this is a site that you're going to be continuously updating? Can you do that? Absolutely, because you can still make changes. So let's say that on this homepage, I want to add in another image. And so I can select an image. So let's go in, just select an image here. I'm going to upload an image from my computer. So I'm going to pick this image. I'm going to pop it in. Okay. Now, I've popped it in here, but if we go to our home page on the published site and I refresh it, it still doesn't show up. And that's because anytime you make a change, you're going to have to hit publish again. Okay. This will actually show you the differences. It'll show you what's currently published, what you're going to change it to, making sure you want to do that. If you want to, you go ahead and hit publish. Now, if I go back and I refresh, my changes that I made show up. So you can edit and add to this site anytime. All you have to do is hit republish after you make the changes. Under settings, you've got some of those other things that we've looked at before. So that's another place that you can find those. You have the more option, so you can do a version history just like you can with other Google documents. You can duplicate the site, other things like that. Okay, so then the last thing I want to show you is copy published link to site. You can copy that link. So this link that we made for our site, you can copy it. That way you can send it out to parents. You could email it out. You could put it wherever you need to. And then when we paste that in, we're going to our site. Okay, so you can collaborate, you can publish, you can edit it after it's been published and then republish, and then you can get a link to it to send out. And that's Google Sites, a great way for you to organize information and get it out to those that need it.